Hello there, guys and gals. Have you ever had a really bad day, like a really, really shitty, long, horrible day where it feels like everything goes wrong, and then the next morning you're so stressed out from the day before that you feel like you have a hangover even though you didn't drink? You just kind of feel so shitty about the day before that um, you just wake up feeling bad just right away because that's how bad the day was. Yeah, that was my week. It was just 6 of the longest, most painful, horrible, everything goes wrong type of days that I've ever had in my entire life. It's one of the reasons I haven't done many videos this week. I did the Captain America Civil War video on Monday. I think it was Monday. I don't remember. I don't even remember. This week is just, I want to forget that this week ever happened. But, yeah, but I haven't done much in the way of wrestling, because I've just been so stressed out and, and tired and exhausted and angry and frustrated and, putting my hand through a fucking wall. Okay, I didn't put my hand through the wall, but I did punch it and kind of bruised it a little bit. But, yeah, so I have not had a good week, is basically my point. But there was a silver lining, and I got some really great news about something personal, nothing that relates to what I normally talk about in my videos. But I did get a silver lining, so hopefully things are on the up and up, and hopefully next week's better. We got Memorial Weekend coming up, which is great. I get a 3-day weekend. That's going to be awesome. So yeah, back to making the videos. We've got Extreme Rules coming up. I definitely wanted to talk about that. So I'll be doing preview and predictions for that, but there's a couple other topics that came up. One wrestling related, one non-wrestling related. I'll save the non-wrestling related thing for the end of the video just to kind of, for those of you who don't want to stick around for non-wrestling discussions, you can just join me at the end if you feel willing, or once the wrestling discussion's over, you can turn it off. Just turn off the video at your discretion. So, let's jump right into it. So the main topic I wanted to talk about before going into Extreme Rules was the value of commentators in wrestling. And this was something that was brought up to me a few days ago and really got my brain going about, because one of the main complaints you hear about Raw week in and week out is how shitty the commentators are. I mean, Michael Cole, JBL, and Byron Saxton are just horrible. And the Raw announce team has been bad for a really, really long time. This isn't just a new thing. It's been going on for years and years, and it's one of those things that's like, why can't we just have JR at the booth? I mean, why can't Vince just let us have the nice things that we want? Or how is the art of commentary, like, fallen off such a cliff to where, the three guys that we get on Monday nights, they sound like fucking cartoon characters or cardboard cutouts that are just yelling random things to get us to buy something or sell us something or God knows what. It's more like they're trying to be spokespeople doing infomercials for the WWE rather than actually doing their fucking job, which is supposed to be calling the matches, educating the viewers, adding excitement, atmosphere, analysis, and a bunch of other things to the show. Things that they're really just not doing, not consistently anyway. A lot of the times, and this has been kind of a thing. I don't want to say it started with Monsoon and Ventura, but they were kind of the ones that popularized it. The whole, you have to have a face commentator and a heel commentator. Which I don't think is necessarily true, but unfortunately WWE has taken that concept and just run with it to the extreme to where the heel is so in the corner of all the bad guys that he loses any and all analytical ability. I mean, you listen to Jerry Lawler on Thursday nights on SmackDown and okay, he doesn't like Kalisto because Kalisto is short. Even though Kalisto is the U.S. champion and wins all the time, and Jerry Lawler, his whole shortness argument doesn't make any sense because Kalisto wins anyway. So, what sense does it make, to constantly bash the guy? It's just he has to find some reason to hate Kalisto because Kalisto is the face. And if Kalisto turned heel tomorrow, Lawler would love him, and him being short would have no impact on that. It's just it's like their opinions are based on whoever's heel and whoever's face, and not on any kind of real analytical thought process going into it. Like, again, going back to Jesse Ventura, he preferred the guys that had nice bodies, because, you know, he prided himself on being Jesse the Body Ventura, so guys that were typically really cut, he really, really gravitated to, like Ravishing Rick Rude. And, you know, he gave Rick Rude the Jesse the Body Award and all that stuff. So, and he typically liked guys that, matched his personality, his more ruthless, cutthroat, style of pro wrestling. So anybody else that wrestled the way he did, you know, cheating and being, you know, bending the rules and all that stuff, Jesse gravitated to those guys. But now we're at a point where, you know, Bobby Heenan, same thing. The guys he rooted for were typically guys that were like his friends and guys that he used to manage or had money invested in, like Ric Flair in '91. So, you know, there was a reason for why the heel commentators liked certain heels and why they liked certain wrestlers more than others. But now that's completely gone. It's just JBL has to rant and rave like a crazy person and favor the heels no matter what, whether it makes any sense or not. And on the flip side, Byron Saxton and Michael Cole have to agree with every single fucking thing that he said. You know, they've just got to completely disagree with everything he says because JBL's the heel and everything he says is wrong, even though, you know, Michael and Byron will say equally stupid things. Because their whole job is to just support the baby faces, then ultimately just sell us shit that the WWE is posting on the network or selling on the Shop Zone or whatever the fuck is going on. And it really does impact the show because the whole value of having a commentator, not just in pro wrestling, but in any sport, whether it be NFL, NBA, NHL, MLB, the whole point of the commentary is to educate the viewers on what's going on. You know, I learned a lot about the sport of pro football just listening to the commentators, like why certain offenses form certain ways and how defenses defend against certain offenses and the different routes that receivers run and all that other stuff. I learned a lot of that just from listening to the commentators. And that's part of their job is they're supposed to educate us. And that's why I get mad whenever commentators in wrestling get the moves wrong, because I'm like, you're not supposed to get the moves wrong. Michael Cole, Mr. Blue Thunder Bomb. I hate to keep harping on the one thing, and I realize everybody makes mistakes, but when your job is to educate, and you don't do that properly, you know, you're kind of raising a whole new, you know, audience that's not as informed of how the sport or the art form is supposed to work or why certain moves matter more than other moves or whatever the fuck. So the whole point of educating the audience, that's all kind of going to the wayside. And that's really only happening in pro wrestling. And I'm not saying that every football commentator is great. If I have to listen to Troy Aikman one more time, my head's going to fucking explode. But, you know, there's supposed to be like a certain level of knowledge that they're supposed to provide in their positions. And you listen to UFC commentary, I mean, it's like night and day. It's like, and it, you know, to throw it back to wrestling, I mean, it's one of the reasons that Mauro Ranallo, is so well liked, on the SmackDown team because he actually analyzes stuff. He actually comes from a very high knowledge base about pro wrestling. He's able to use historical ties about the wrestlers, you know, involved in each situation. He's able to, you know, make things matter and provide context for the audience because, you know, he's right now calling guys that he's called before in the past, like AJ Styles. He's got a whole experience with AJ Styles, having called various things from New Japan that, you know, he has a whole experience level that a lot of the WWE commentators don't have. So he, just by having worked with AJ before and having called his matches before, he knows a lot about AJ Styles' matches, his tendencies, his success rate around the world, all of that other stuff, and he's able to inject that into AJ Styles' matches and bring that knowledge. And I know a lot of people say that, well, if it didn't happen in WWE, it didn't matter. I say that's horseshit. If you can make a guy matter by building credibility based on what he did before the WWE and making that feel like a big deal. The WWE's slowly moved away from that mindset of like, if it didn't happen in WWE, it didn't matter, which is good. You know, because these guys do have careers, they're established brands before getting to the WWE. I mean, that was Daniel Bryan's bread and butter, was the fact that he was a huge independent superstar and an internet darling and everything else, but he was those things for a reason. It's because he was damn good and people recognize that. And there's a sizable fan base that was like, look, this guy's really good, and when he gets to the WWE, they better let him shine. And that's what, I'm not saying that the internet is completely right about everybody that's ever come up the pipe, but Daniel Bryan is one guy they were definitely right about. AJ Styles is definitely one guy that they were right about. So yeah, I'm kind of getting sidetracked here, but yeah, let the commentators be educators. And when I think of like the best wrestling commentators today, I've already mentioned Mauro Ranallo. Lucha Underground, I'm not saying that Vamp and Stryker are the best team around, but Vamp always brings his experience into analyzing situations and why he likes certain guys and doesn't like other guys, and he'll critique things that guys do in the ring, again, based off of his own experience. And Matt Stryker is so knowledgeable that he's always able to bring some kind of a reference or historical comparison to the situation to try and bring weight and gravity to it. And again, not saying they're the best, I'm just saying they actually do their fucking job, and they accomplish what they're supposed to do, which is more than I can say about the Raw team. NXT, you got Corey Graves, who I think is quite good, even though he's supposed to be more the heel announcer. He does like analyze things and comes up with reasons for why he likes certain guys and why he doesn't like other guys and all that other stuff. But there are good commentators out there. It's just for whatever reason they're not on Monday nights. So yeah, let the commentators be educators. That's definitely a huge thing. Let them be analytical. Let them inject knowledge and historical context in everything that goes on, because it educates the audience. It encourages people to go out, and if you use historical context, it encourages them to actually go out and research this shit and actually check out stuff from the past and give them a wider knowledge base about the history of pro wrestling. That's for damn sure. And I'll use examples in a little bit. But yeah, the basic point right off the bat, let them be educators. And let them be passionate. That's another thing. Because the excitement of the announcers, and if their excitement comes across, it adds weight to the situation that's going on, because you kind of get lost in the excitement with them. Just a few examples, again, using a real sport. I mean, the Miracle on Ice, the USA defeating the Soviet hockey team. I mean, that event happened 5 years before I was born. And it brings a tear to my eye every time I watch it. And it happened 5 years before I was born. That's incredible. And I cannot imagine that game without the closing seconds as Al Michaels is counting down 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. Do you believe in miracles? 3, 2, 1. And it's like, it's one of the best calls in the history of sports, because again, it captured the weight of the situation. It showed how invested Al Michaels was in the whole situation, and how he kind of got lost in the whole thing as it happened, because it was such an unbelievable upset. And you get moments like that in pro wrestling from the good commentators. I mean, you look at that Hell in a Cell match between Mick Foley and The Undertaker. You can't disassociate that match without hearing JR's commentary. I mean, that match would be significantly less without JR's commentary. Oh my God, as God is my witness, he is broken in half. It's like, oh my God, it killed him. And all the other crazy things that he said. And actually, my favorite call in that match is one that gets overlooked. When the match was over, JR said, this has been the most ungodly match that I think we will perhaps ever see. And JR really knew how to balance, and again, adding education and excitement and historical context and a bunch of other things into it. And it's one of the reasons that JR is so well celebrated as being the best play-by-play guy in the history of the business. Because he could do all of those things. He could be very passionate. He could be, he obviously had been in the business for decades and has a huge knowledge base and was able to bring that knowledge to the table. He sounded great. He sounded comfortable. He sounded like somebody that you would expect to call a wrestling show or any sporting event, actually. When they did the XFL and they had JR and the King calling football games, I was like, okay, JR I understand. The King, not so much. But JR sounds kind of natural calling any sport because he's just got the voice for it. It's and that's something that you're born with. You either sound good or you don't, and JR sounds great. So, So yeah, when I think of all the great things that a commentator is supposed to have and that commentary teams are supposed to convey, they're supposed to be educators. They're supposed to be exciting. They're supposed to add weight and context to situations. They're supposed to have a wide knowledge base. JR encompasses everything. And, when I think of good commentary, JR is the guy I always think of. And just to show a perfect example that, one of my favorite calls that JR ever had, it was one of those great calls where he's educating the viewers, provides historical context and exploiting his knowledge base, and adds weight, gravity to the situation, and generated excitement in the situation that was going on. Hulk Hogan versus The Rock at WrestleMania 18. Hulk Hogan hulks up, 3 punches, 1, 2, 3, throws Rocks to the ropes, big boot, and then hits the leg drop on The Rock, and just right out of JR's mouth, he beat Andre the Giant with that move. And that is one of the best calls I've ever heard because, okay, I knew that Hogan beat Andre the Giant at WrestleMania 3 with the leg drop because I've seen that match a billion times. But if you're a younger fan, maybe you didn't see that match, but I guarantee you've heard of Andre the Giant because everybody's heard of Andre the Giant. So there's this WWE Hall of Famer that's like a legend in the history of the business. And Hulk Hogan defeated him once upon a time, 15 years prior to this particular match. And here Hulk Hogan just hit The Rock with the move that he beat Andre the Giant with in the middle of a WrestleMania ring. It elevated the entire situation beyond, anything that could be said. And, when you're commentating, you want to be able to make those calls that are played on the highlight reels along with those moments instead of because those are the best. Like Vince McMahon's "The Boyhood Dream Has Come True." Would WrestleMania 12 be the same without that call? Probably not. It really helps out on the highlight packages years after the fact, for sure. But going back to my WrestleMania 18 example, it's like, JR just made the perfect call at the perfect time, displaying all of the great things that commentators are supposed to do when calling a wrestling match. He educated, he exploited his knowledge base, he clearly got excited over what was going on, and he provided weight, context, and all the other things that you need to make things feel important. Basically what I'm getting at is JR took a basic leg drop, which is about as basic a wrestling move as you could possibly take it, and he made it feel like the stuff of legend. And that's what a great commentator can do, because they're supposed to assist. They're basically the narrators. They're supposed to assist with the telling of the story. Because the wrestlers typically have to do that with just the moves that they do and their facial expressions and other things, unless a microphone gets involved and you get situations like the Mariposa Sexy Star match from a couple weeks ago in Lucha Underground. Typically the wrestlers aren't going to be able to vocally express what's going on. Generally speaking, that's not completely true. So the commentators fill that void, and they act as the narrators, and they help us along the way. And again, educate, provide, points of view, provide excitement, weight, gravity, context, all of that fun stuff. And that's something that you're just not getting from the Raw team at the moment. And they're easily, I would say, the worst commentary team. And of all the wrestling shows out there, they're the worst ones. And, Ring of Honor, Kevin Kelly and Steve Corino aren't great, and Corino can be very grating with the super kick party. Like, he's one of the reasons I can't stand Young Bucks matches anymore, but among other things. But it's just grating. But at least they analyze shit, and at least they draw from experience, and at least they do things that actually try to make things feel more important and try and accomplish all the things that commentators are supposed to do. Because typically, and it's sad because JBL used to do that, and I don't know what happened to him. There was a point in time when I was like, can we just get JR and JBL calling Raw every week? I'd be happy. But JBL has regressed so much to an almost scary degree to where he's arguably worse than Cole. And it's like, I don't know what the fuck happened, where he just became a catchphrase spewing cartoon character. I was like, I don't know what happened to him, but he used to be really, really good and really made a point to reference the history of these guys and try to make things feel important and try to make the matches feel more important than they probably would otherwise. And I don't know what happened to JBL, but basically the whole point of this discussion was to highlight why the Raw team is so bad and why they don't work as a commentary team, and to provide examples of good commentary teams and great moments with commentary teams that really made matches and moments feel more special, and basically just outline what they're supposed to do and what's the difference between a good commentator and a bad commentator. And hopefully you all agree with me, or I'm sure some people don't. But in any case, yeah, it's an interesting discussion to have because it is that thing, because you hear it almost every week with Monday Night Raw. It's like, God, the commentary sucks. God, the commentary sucks. It's like, well, why do they suck? Why do they suck in comparison to the guys that we used to like, and what made the other guys so great? And hopefully I've adequately explained that, why that is. But yeah, it's this is a video, this particular part of the video has been a long time coming. I've been thinking of ways to kind of verbalize and organize my thoughts and show how that works. But yeah, hopefully you found this informative. But yeah, let's jump into the Extreme Rules preview. Now, before I start previewing the specific matches for Extreme Rules 2016, I do have to say that for the second pay-per-view in a row, I actually like the card on paper. I think it's been fairly well built. I think they continued the feuds from the previous show nicely, and the gimmicks, even though this is a show that's highlighting a bunch of gimmick matches, most of the gimmicks are actually warranted based on the feuds and based on how they built up these matches. The submission match works fine. The main event being an Extreme Rules match works fine. I'm trying to think of another example. The Tornado Tag, one that works fine, based on the way the feud has been going. The gimmicks actually complement the feud, and are actually carryovers from how the feud has been built up to this point. So it's actually a case of where, I mean, you could still argue that it's too many gimmick matches, but at the same time, it's like, at least they fit. It's not like Hell in a Cell, where they'll just put Sheamus and Randy Orton in a Hell in a Cell match, but nobody gives a shit about them being in a Hell in a Cell match. It's like, yeah, that's a hot feud that warrants that level of a gimmick. It's like, okay, sure. There's nothing like that on the card. At least I don't think so. So with that, let's get started. On the pre-show, we're getting a no disqualifications match between Dolph Ziggler and Baron Corbin, a rematch from both last month and an episode of Raw that followed. They've actually had a couple matches up to this point. Again, it's one of those examples where the Raw is just so long that I feel like I've seen this match like 2 or 3 times, but I'm probably thinking of something else. That actually happened to me this week where Sami Zayn and Cesaro wrestled each other. I'm like, hasn't this match happened before? Didn't we just get this match like a couple weeks ago? And apparently it didn't. It's just that I guess Raw is just so long that they all just kind of run together after a while. But anyway, Ziggler and Corbin, I disagreed with Ziggler going over last month. I thought that was a mistake. I think Corbin should be kept strong going forward. I also felt like the feud probably should have ended once Corbin beat him, and then Corbin should have moved on to somebody else. But fine, whatever. As long as Corbin goes over, and it's like, look, I'm not disparaging Ziggler's talent level. I'm not saying that Corbin is the creme de la creme or anything. I'm just saying, it's like, look, you got this guy. His real money is being a monster heel, so let's keep booking him as a monster heel. And to book him as a monster heel, he has to be booked strong. He has to look good, and he's got to get some wins. He's got to look dominant doing it. And Ziggler, I mean, they've had so many opportunities to make something out of him, and they squandered every single one of them. So you got to wonder, it's like, how much longer is Ziggler going to last? So, I mean, jobbing out to Baron Corbin isn't going to, bring Ziggler down any further than he's already been brought. So, yeah. Gonna go with Corbin to take the win. Hopefully it's a solid pre-show match. But getting into the main card, we have the United States title on the line. Rusev challenging Kalisto. I guess we're supposed to just ignore the last year of Rusev's career, because once he got fed through the John Cena blender, it's like he's had no direction. It's just been a mess. It's a shame because I actually like Rusev. Lana, same thing. Got over like gangbusters. They did the thing at WrestleMania last year where the crowd was cheering for her, and she got up on the apron and acknowledged that the fans were cheering for her. And it was like, man, that was one of the most like human and organic things WWE's done in years. I don't know if they told her to do that. I don't know if that was just something she did on her own. I have no idea. But it felt natural, and WWE doesn't usually specialize in that kind of stuff. So, Yeah, they got Lana over, and it felt like, yeah, she's becoming like a big star here, and then stupid angle after stupid angle after stupid angle, and just directionless, and did nothing with her, and now she just feels like another part of the show rather than the special attraction that she was becoming. So my guess is that Rusev's probably going to win the U.S. title, and then they're just going to go back and try to recapture some of the magic that Rusev had a year ago. Hopefully they can. I doubt it because a lot of damage has been done, but we'll see. Maybe, hopefully they have a good idea for Rusev going forward. But I'm going to pick him to win the U.S. title here. Next up, we have the IC title on the line in a four corners match, as I predicted, coming out of Payback. You have The Miz defending the Intercontinental Championship against Cesaro, Kevin Owens, and Sami Zayn. This should be a really nice action-packed match. I think it could be one of the big highlights of the undercard. It should be really good. I think Cesaro works well with everybody. Owens is just great on his own. Sami Zayn is always great. And Miz, for all the flack he gets, I think Miz is doing well in this new thing he's doing with Maurice. And he's such a hateable guy naturally that you can definitely play with that and make something out of it. And I think so far they have with this new IC title run. So I expect this to just be a fun, action-packed match. I typically don't like championships being on the line in four corners matches because on paper it's completely unfair to the champion. And if the champion loses the title, it feels like kind of a cheat because they didn't really... either they didn't get beat to lose the title, or it's a situation where there's so many bodies flying around that the loss almost feels like a fluke. So I typically prefer, like, if you're going to have a four-corner or a three-way, I typically prefer it if it's a contenders match of some kind, and not as a championship match. But for whatever, I mean, there have definitely been worse cases of this. I mean, if you're going to give me a four-way, at least they're giving me guys that I like, so it's fine. I'm going to pick, I guess I'll just go with Miz to retain, because again, I'm not a fan of title changes in four ways. So, Miz retains here, and then they eventually have like Owens, Zayn, and Cesaro kind of work with each other, and then the winner of that kind of three-way series or whatever ultimately gets to challenge Miz for the IC title one-on-one and then beats him. Or they build up a whole other contender altogether. I don't know, but we shall see. Actually, there's a triple threat I'd like to see. Owens, Cesaro, and Zayn is like an IC title contenders match. I think that could be a lot of fun. But I probably would have preferred that over doing the four-way at this pay-per-view. But it is what it is. And I think the match should be fine. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. Another title on the line is the Women's Championship in a submission match. They actually gave them the closing spot on their contract signing. They gave the closing spot on Raw this week. Charlotte challenging against Natalya in a submission match with Ric Flair banned from ringside. And again, this is one where the gimmick completely complemented the buildup of the story, because it feels like Natalya can beat Charlotte in a straight-up one-on-one, and a lot of the female contenders can beat Charlotte one-on-one, but the interference of Ric Flair is getting in the way. And now that Flair's been banned from ringside, we're finally going to get a fair fight. Now, can Charlotte find a way to retain the title without Ric Flair at ringside? So it has all these storyline questions that are being brought up and will be answered in this gimmick match. And, the fact that it's a submission match plays off the fact that both girls have submission finishers, the sharpshooter and the figure eight. So it has that dynamic to it as well. So, again, it's a great case of where the gimmick complements the story, has been built into the story, and it actually feels natural rather than something forced for the sake of having a gimmick on a pay-per-view. So I like that. I think the match can be really good. These two have had really good matches in the past. The one at Payback was kind of so-so, but I think this one should be better, and I think it will be. I think it could be pretty good. I mean, their NXT TakeOver match is kind of the standard. That's the high mark that they set. I don't know if they'll be able to match that, but I expect this match to be really good, and I'll go with Charlotte to retain. And once she beats Natty, then she'll move on to something else. Hopefully Sasha Banks one-on-one. And then you've got Becky Lynch kind of working with Dana Brooke and Emma. Of course, Emma just got hurt, but so I don't know if Becky's going to be set up to eventually be a future contender for the winner, like Sasha and Charlotte. But yeah, we'll see where that all goes. But for right now, I think they're going to run with Charlotte as champion. So keep the belt on her and just keep things moving forward. So yeah, I expect that match to be pretty good. We've got 2 tag team matches on the show. I always like having multiple tag matches, not in that WrestleMania 2000 way where they had like 14 tag matches. It was just overkill. But, having multiple tag matches helps give depth to a tag team division. And one match that we're getting is a tornado tag team match between the Club, which I really don't like that name because it's kind of like, could you imagine if like WCW got Undertaker and then they brought him in and they just called him Taker and that's it? Or like a better example, TNA, when they brought back Christopher Daniels and they just called him Daniels. It's like, Christopher Daniels. His name is Christopher Daniels. The Fallen Angel, Christopher Daniels. And they insisted on calling him just Daniels for whatever fucking reason. I don't know why. It's really strange. But it just feels incomplete. It's like, oh, Gallows and Anderson, they're the Club. I'm like, the Bullet Club. Okay, you can't use Bullet Club. Okay, fine. Could you come up with another name for them, please? Makes you wonder if Finn Balor and the Balor Club is going to be formed at some point. But again, we'll see. I guess it depends on how the next takeover plays out, but yeah, I think this match could be pretty good. I've always liked Anderson and Gallows as a team. They're a nice smash mouth bruiser type of team, and a lot of companies are lacking that. A lot of wrestling companies just don't see the value in having big bruiser tag teams. I don't know why. They're great. You got two big roughneck monsters that can throw people around. I'm not saying that Carl Anderson and Doc Gallows are the best at that, and I'm not saying they're the greatest team in the world, but they're good at their job, and their job is to just be big bruising badasses that beat people up, and that type of variety is sorely needed. And I think working with a team like the Usos will be good for them. And I think it's a tornado tag, which is a fun style of format. When that's the actual rule structure, not that Young Bucks way where basically all of their matches are tornado tag matches, whether it's designated as that or not. But here it's like, all right, tornado tag, everybody's in the ring at the same time, so it's like, all right, that rule structure's in place. Just have a nice action-packed match out of it, and I expect it to be pretty good. I would hope that the Club would go over just to keep them looking good. They lost on Raw, and I was a little disappointed with that. I was kind of hoping that match would end in some kind of a no contest or a DQ or something, and then that would set up the tornado tag. But hopefully the Club goes over here. That sounds so wrong, saying the Club. But I hope Anderson and Gallows go over, and I hope it's a pretty good match too. For the tag team titles, we're having the New Day versus the Vaudevillains. The Vaudevillains obviously earned the title shot by winning the New Day tournament at Payback last month in that whole match where Enzo got hurt, unfortunately. But I would say put the belts on the Vaudevillains. I think they've already done much better on the main roster than I ever thought they could. Because I thought they were going to be complete failures on the main roster, but they're doing okay. They're not. I wish they would do more of those like NXT. Like one of my favorite things they did in NXT were the silent movie bits they did, making fun of the Lucha Dragons. I mean, they were really funny, and I wish they would do more stuff like that. I think it would be really great. But so far so good for the Vaudevillains. And I say have them win the tag titles and let the heels kind of rule the division, and then you've got the New Day, they got knocked down a few pegs, and now they have to climb back up to get back into that spot. And then when Enzo comes back, you'll have Enzo and Cass kind of feuding with the New Day to determine who the number one contenders are. And you've got Enzo and Cass who have a beef with the Vaudevillains because they beat them in the tournament, and Enzo got hurt the last time they worked with each other, so you have that built-in story. And you have the team, the Vaudevillains would be the team that finally beat the New Day for the tag title, so the New Day would be really mad at them. And then you have a bunch of other teams involved in the equation to use to build up Enzo and Cass and the New Day to get them to the title shot, and maybe you have another team built up along the way to give Vaudevillains kind of an in-between feud. A lot of things you can do. It helps when your tag division has depth, and you can do those type of things, and spider web and have one team off in this direction, but all the teams are kind of working towards the same goal of getting to the tag titles. So those are the signs of a strong division. It's one of the reasons I like having more than one tag match on the show, because it makes it look like the division has depth. But if it were up to me, the Vaudevillains would win the titles. Hopefully that happens. I'm going to pick them to win it. So yeah, those are your two tag matches. So moving right on from there, I believe, I'm trying to think, am I missing something or no? Okay. So the two kind of main event matches, I guess we'll call them. First we have the Asylum match, Dean Ambrose versus Chris Jericho, which Ambrose unveiled the Asylum on Raw this week, and it's basically a steel cage match with weapons hanging from the top. And I just looked at that thing, and I was like, so am I going to be the dickhead that just says this looks like a TNA match? I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm just saying it looks like a TNA match. As like we have a pay-per-view, a WWE pay-per-view that has a match that has TNA fingerprints all over it, and AJ Styles is in the main event. You know, just craziness. Absolute insanity all around. Dogs and cats living together. Mass hysteria. It's crazy. It's like we're time traveling back to TNA 2008 or 9 or so, whenever Russo had the book. But in any case, I'm not sure how this match is going to turn out. You know, these type of matches, they either work out well and they turn out fun, or they don't work at all and they just kind of turn out to be an awkward mess. So we'll see. Again, it's really depends on if the stars are aligned and if the performers are up to the challenge. But I would expect this match to be at least fun, at least be a little crazy and nutty, and something like, again, to put another TNA example in there, some of the Raven House of Fun matches or so, something akin to that, or like the Lethal Lockdowns, or again, something similar to that. I would think that Dean Ambrose would go over. I mean, I know Dean Ambrose won at the last pay-per-view, and they love to do 50-50 shit, but it's like, come on, just let Ambrose beat him twice in a row and just build. Because Ambrose, if you want him to be a big star, you've got to start really giving him some momentum. And I think, and I've said it before, Chris Jericho's best days are behind him. We all love Chris Jericho, but his best days are behind him. Let's use him to build up other guys, like the Dudley Boys have been doing. The Dudley Boys have been putting almost everybody over, and it's great because they help put New Day over. I mean, New Day was already over, but Dudley Boys putting them over kind of made them more credible. And that's the type of stuff that you're looking for. They help get Enzo and Cass over on the main roster. A bunch of things like that. And that's the value of having veterans on the roster, is that they can make the newer guys look good. And hopefully it's like, let's make Dean look good and move forward from here. But so yeah, that leads me into the main event. Roman Reigns defending the championship defending the WWE championship, I should say. Against AJ Styles in an Extreme Rules match, which again they set up at the end of Payback last month. I thought, well, because last month's match was so crazy with the countout finish and a DQ finish and all that other insanity, and the Usos and the club getting involved, it set up a lot of insanity. So I was like, okay, they need to be in kind of the only way that AJ and Roman are going to be able to have a clear-cut decisive winner without any shenanigans, as if it's just a free-for-all where the referee just lets everything go. So just let them have an Extreme Rules match and let them fight it out, settle the score, and we'll have a winner. I highly doubt that AJ's going to win the belt. I would mark out like a bitch if he did. It would really make this pay-per-view feel a lot more meaningful if AJ won the belt. But I doubt that's going to happen. I've actually been enjoying the feud. I actually like, because there hasn't been a clear-cut face and clear-cut heel, and it's just kind of letting the audience pick their side, and I think most of them are picking AJ, because Roman's a dick, okay? Roman's just a dick. And it's like they put him in a situation where I can accept him as the heel, which makes it work better. And it's like, yeah, I want AJ to kick his ass and just forearm his fucking pearly whites into oblivion and just kill that motherfucker. But in any case, I expect a really good main event here. Roman's going over because reasons. Although I would mark out tremendously if AJ won. But yeah, should be a pretty good main event. I think I'm expecting this to be a good show overall. I think it should be. And again, I'm not a huge fan of like the gimmick match on top of gimmick match on top of gimmick match style of pay-per-views, because I feel like at times that's too lazy or too easy. But again, the stories and the feuds have been good, so yeah, I think it could be a really good show. So here's hoping. I might not get to see it tomorrow night because I got called into work again. Like I said, this week has sucked, royally sucked. But in any case, yeah, I will get a chance to see Extreme Rules at some point, and I'll have a review up sometime Monday or Tuesday at least. But that is all I have for now on the wrestling discussion side of things. So let's get into some non-wrestling stuff to close out the video. Okay, so for the non-wrestling portion of this video, it's about something that came up this week that I feel like I have to comment on because of how just ridiculous the whole situation is. But obviously, James Rolfe, the angry video game nerd, got himself in trouble for having the gall to release a video stating that he was not going to see and not going to spend money on the new female Ghostbusters reboot. How dare him? He must be a sexist and a bigot and everything else in between. Completely forget the fact that the marketing for the movie has been downright terrible. The trailers make the movie look like garbage. The IP associated with the movie is something that's kind of sacred to a lot of people. I mean, Ghostbusters is one of my favorite things ever. I mean, when you look at like some of the weird, off-the-wall, nerdy hobbies I have, I mean, I basically turned the New York Giants into one of my nerdy hobbies. But, it's like that, Star Wars, Rocky, Godzilla, pro wrestling, and then Ghostbusters is probably the next step up from there. 80s cartoons, which Ghostbusters also falls under. But, I love Ghostbusters, and I have my entire life. And, if you're going to bring it back and you're going to do a reboot, it better be good, because I don't want bad Ghostbusters material. There has been bad Ghostbusters material in the past. Ghostbusters 2 was, I should hate that movie. It's one of those things that's like, it does so many things I hate about sequels. The biggest thing being that it's basically the same movie as the first movie. They just rehashed it and tweaked it. They basically just made the first movie again and put a baby in there. That's basically what they did. Other than that, it's exactly the same movie. But, I kind of let it slide in that case because the cast is still so likable and the chemistry is still there. So it's like, God damn it, you made me kind of enjoy the sequel, even with the stupid Statue of Liberty shit that happened at the end. But in any case, I don't want there to be any bad Ghostbusters material, and I was open to the idea of a female cast being in the reboot. It's like, okay, let's see what they do. As long as it's good, that's all that concerns me. But when that first trailer hit, I was like, oh, that looks bad. That looks really bad. With, the big danger zone sign for me was the very loud, stereotypical black lady just walking around going, oh, hell no! I don't know science, but I'm from the streets, or I grew up in New York, or whatever the line was. And I'm like, oh, you just look like is this a minstrel show? Is this what happened? When did Ghostbusters turn into a minstrel show? I need to know. When did this happen? The first trailer was really, really bad. Like, one of the worst trailers I've ever seen to a major property like Ghostbusters. So, when people like James Rolfe and myself look at that type of material from the marketing, this is the stuff that they made to market and promote the film, and it looks like garbage. Utter garbage. And it looked, and if we're wrong, so be it. And I'll gladly admit I was wrong and go see the movie, depending on what the word of mouth is, and if it's, I'll determine if it's worth checking out. Like, a good example of that would be Frozen. The marketing for Frozen was terrible. Before it came out, it wasn't until it came out and it got popular for reasons that were not apparent in the marketing. So I guess I should applaud the marketing for hiding all the good things and keeping some mystery about it. But at the same time, it was like, the advertising for the film was so bad that I just assumed it was going to be a disaster. Because that's how they presented it to me. That doesn't make me a moron, and it doesn't make anybody that decided to skip the film based on the trailers a moron. It's like, look, you're trying to entice me to spend money on this stuff, and if you're presenting it to me like garbage, then I'm not going to want to spend my money on it. It's as simple as that. And any negative reaction to this female Ghostbusters trailer, it's because the movie looks bad. It has nothing to do with... if it were all men in the trailer, it would still be bad. It would still be terrible. It just looks really, really bad. And actually, my comparison to it is kind of like Pixels. Pixels, it's like, all right, you've got this nice idea for a movie. It's basically ripping off a Futurama episode, but as a movie, it could be a lot of fun. You got Pac-Man, Donkey Kong. I think Q*bert was in there, too. I don't know. I never saw the movie. But it's like, yeah, that looks like a really good idea. It could be a lot of fun. Oh, Adam Sandler's making it. Oh, no. Happy Madison. And then you started seeing the trailers for it, and it's like, yep, this looks dead on arrival. And the negative reaction to it kind of showed that it's like, yeah, it looked as bad as it did in the marketing. you know, and nobody called anybody a bigot for not wanting to go see Pixels, because it looked really, really bad. It's just that this is a movie that looks really, really bad, that has the unfortunate, you know, the unfortunate label of having an all-female cast. So the negative reaction has been interpreted by some in the social media community, the more politically correct, corners of the world, that, you know, if you dislike this movie, then you're a bigot and an asshole and everything else in between. And James Rolfe is right there with them. And I'm not defending James Rolfe because I'm a fan of the guy's work and that, you know, he put me in his movie, which I still haven't seen, by the way. I still haven't. I've seen the clip where I'm in it, but I haven't seen like the actual movie itself. But in any case, you know, it doesn't make. And I saw the video that he put out. At no point does he like go on a giant sexist tirade about what are they doing to Ghostbusters. He just said, look, the movie looks like crap and I have no interest in seeing it and I don't feel like spending money on it. So, yeah, it's as simple as that. I mean, they're really, like, making a mountain out of a molehill. And, like, some of, like, again, like, the social justice warriors and the buzzword brigade or whatever, I mean, they really pick some strange hills to die on, and that's one of them. It's like, yeah, let's go after that guy because he said he doesn't want to spend money on a thing that looks like crap. When in actuality, if you want me to be honest, all you feminists and all you people that are, you know, the hashtaggers of the world and everything, you're directing your venom at the wrong people, like James Rolfe. You really should be directing your venom at the people that are in charge of marketing this film, because they have done an incredibly shitty job. And if the movie turns out as bad as it looks, you should be mad at the people that made the film because they did an incredibly shitty job. Getting mad at the people for calling it crap and saying that it looks like garbage is really kind of stupid, because it's like, look, it looks like garbage. And I'm not saying, I'm sure there is some sexism from some people out there in regards to this film, but I mean, again, I looked at the trailer, I saw what I saw. It looks bad. I'm sorry. The special effects look terrible. The jokes aren't funny. The cast doesn't seem to be that great. And, you know, I'm looking at the cast members. I like Kristen Wiig in some things. I liked her as Lola Bunny in the Looney Tunes show. She really reinvigorated that character and made her actually like an acceptable Looney Tune. You know, in Space Jam, she was such a boring, like, corporate shill image. It was like just to sell toys to little girls, and that felt like the entire reason for her character exists. And then when Kristen Wiig did the voice acting in the new Looney Tunes show, it's like, oh my god, she's actually like a Looney Tune now. It's great. I thought she did a great job there. Melissa McCarthy can be funny when she's not being typecast as an ugly, stupid, clumsy, fat person. I don't know if that's how she's going to be portrayed in this movie. You know, if the possession scene in the trailer, again, really bad stuff here, is any indication, it looks like that's what it's going to be. But like Melissa McCarthy, when she's in things like Tammy or Identity Theft or things like that, where she's just the ugly, stupid, clumsy, fat person, it's not good. It's really not good. I mean, I liked Kristen Wiig and Melissa McCarthy. I liked them both in Bridesmaids. I thought Bridesmaids was a solidly entertaining film. It's basically The Hangover for girls. That's kind of what it's trying to be. And it succeeds, and I thought it was funny. And unlike The Hangover, it fortunately didn't have any sequels. Knock on wood. But hopefully there's no sequels to Bridesmaids. But The Hangover, you know, kind of killed itself by having those two really pointless and dumb sequels. One of which had Melissa McCarthy in them. Again, everything comes together. It's all, you know, whatever. It's really strange. But you know, I'm not like angry at the people that they cast. I'm not angry at necessarily like the idea behind it or the spirit behind it. It's like, all right, it's progressive to put women in or have an all-female cast of Ghostbusters. Okay, that's completely fine. But when you start putting like the goal ahead of the quality, I guess, it's like, yeah, it's really progressive and really awesome and all this other stuff. It's like, yeah, but what if it's a piece of crap? And to be perfectly honest, it looks like a piece of crap, and quality matters more to me than the intention. You can have all the good intentions in the world, but if the movie looks like garbage, and if you ultimately made garbage, then it's just garbage. I'm sorry. There was actually a movie that I saw. I've seen the movie, and I also saw some online reviews of it, most notably Your Movie Sucks, his review of it. Megan is Missing. And I think the intent of the movie, was to like raise awareness about kids on the internet and who they talk to, and being safe and making sure that they don't make any dumb ideas about meeting complete strangers on the internet and the dangers that go hand in hand with that. That's what they were trying to do, which is an admirable message to teach and everything. The problem is that the movie is complete and utter garbage, and it really just feels like something like, it feels like this overly exaggerated bad parable that, like, parents, like, it felt like it was made by parents going overboard to scare their children straight. And it didn't feel like something natural or real. It just felt like this really stupid, really kind of, I don't want to say half-assed, because I think they actually did try, but the whole movie, it didn't work, it didn't feel natural, and it was ultimately a bad movie. But again, had good intentions, it was just a bad movie. And again, I kind of feel the same way here with this Ghostbusters film. It's like, look, good intentions are fine, but although I could also argue that the studio is just doing this as a shameless cash grab to try and make money off of a popular intellectual property, but so there's some of that cynical corporate thing going on, if you want me to be a complete asshole about it. But yeah, you can have all the good intentions in the world. The problem is that if the quality isn't good, then you didn't meet your goal. You didn't achieve what you were trying to achieve. If you wanted to have like a really good Ghostbusters cast of all women, then make a good fucking movie and really make something in the spirit of the original, which, I mean, the original Ghostbusters is one of my all-time favorite movies. I watch it once a year at Halloween time. I've seen the movie like a dozen times, like a million times. It's a fucking great movie. I love it to death. Trying to recapture the magic of that film is very hard to do. It's a tall order, but again, when I saw that trailer, it's actually, to bring another comparison, and even like Batman v Superman, some of the marketing for that movie looked really cool. It wasn't until the Doomsday trailer came out, how appropriate, the one with Doomsday in it, when that trailer came out, that I went, uh-oh, we're in trouble. I think we're in trouble. That was the one where I kind of started to see a lot of the red flags, but a lot of the marketing for Batman v Superman was actually quite cool. I mean, marketing plays a really good, important piece, because it's really, that's what convinces people to go spend their money on it. It's like, all right, here's this thing that we have. This is what we're showing you. We're showing you, like, bits and pieces and snippets of what we're going to present to you, and if you spend your money on it, hopefully it's money well spent. And if the marketing's not good, then that's going to cause some problems. And again, I hope the female Ghostbusters movie is good. I don't want there to be a bad Ghostbusters movie. Especially since this is the big return of the franchise after all these years, because Ghostbusters 2 came out in, what, 89? So there hasn't been a Ghostbusters movie in almost 3 decades. But, yeah, I don't want it to be bad, but based on what I'm seeing now, it's like, yeah, no, I don't want to spend my money on that. That looks like a disaster and a half. And if I'm wrong, okay, great. I'll go see it at some other point, but I have no intention of seeing it like opening weekend or anything like that. It's like, no, let's see what the reaction is, and then we'll then get back to me. But yeah, the whole, like, going after James Rolfe because he doesn't want to spend money on a movie that looks like garbage, and calling him a bigot and a sexist and all that other stupid crap, it really is just stupid crap, and really misdirecting your anger, because clearly, if you watch the video that he did, he's not a sexist. He's just a diehard Ghostbusters fan that is disappointed that this thing doesn't look up to snuff to what he wanted out of another Ghostbusters movie. And if it doesn't look like it's your cup of tea, then you don't have to spend money on it. It's really this wonderful thing of how, like, in America, we have these rights to spend things on the things that we want to spend money on, and choose not to spend money on the things that we don't want to spend our money on. It's really kind of crazy. And, going after him for that, I think it's just insane. It's like, so I'm supposed to blindly watch everything that comes out in the movie theaters, whether it looks like garbage or not? No. I mean, come on. I mean, that's ridiculous. So, yeah, just get off James Rolfe's case. He made a good point. the female Ghostbusters movie looks like crap. I won't be spending money on it either, at least not opening weekend. Again, we'll see what the initial reaction is, but the marketing for the film has been terrible. And if if it doesn't reflect the true quality of the film, fine. But for right now, it looks like we're in the danger zone, and that's not good. So, yeah, just leave James Rolfe alone. The whole thing's stupid. But that is all I have for now. I'll get off my soapbox. I just had to comment on it because it's really one of the most inane things I've ever heard, that he was being attacked for something so stupid. But yeah, that's all I have for now. Hope you all made it through this video. But, yeah, I'll have an Extreme Rules review up some point early next week. And if you want, you can follow me on Twitter. The link to my Twitter is down below. I may or may not be live tweeting during Extreme Rules. Depends on when I get off of work. We'll see how it goes. But until then, I will see you all later.